Alright, so this is part 2 of another video that I made about the crucifixion. Now I wanted to talk about the resurrection. I believe in the resurrection of Christ logically, using the historical method, and biblically, Jesus said he would rise from the grave. Using the historical method, here's what we have to avoid. We cannot presuppose a belief that we already have. We have to be fair and lean toward what makes sense, not what we want to make sense. So how do you today prove a resurrection that happened 2,000 years ago? It's not like any of us were there to see it. So we need to rely on the next best thing. It's a little ridiculous how often we downplay eyewitness testimony. We use it for so many historical things, and to this day, we still use it in our courtrooms. It is one of the most reliable and used methods in finding truth, not just in Christianity, but in history as a whole. Now, specifically with the resurrection, we have so many different eyewitness testimonies. So in my opinion, the best evidence that we have for the resurrection is actually the events surrounding the resurrection. And, logically, the biggest piece of evidence that we have is the people who saw him. These followers of Jesus who claim to have seen the resurrected Christ were so certain of what they saw and who they met that they were willing to die for it. Now, let's say this was all a lie, and all hundreds of them lied about seeing Jesus. Why would they go to such an extreme of laying down their lives for a lie? Why didn't the Jewish authorities take Jesus' body out of the grave and then parade it around the city just to end this movement to show everybody, hey, Jesus actually did die? Believe it or not, a big argument against the resurrection is that it was hallucination. They were all hallucinating. How can we prove mass hallucination? Now here's another side effect of this resurrection. The nation of Rome was literally overturned into a Christian nation due to the passion of these Christian believers. While they did try to persecute the church, it did not die out. The church literally began to expand and grow and grow and grow. And so, other than eyewitness testimony and the history of the nation of Rome, what other evidence do we have surrounding the resurrection? The New Testament. Now, denying the reliability of the New Testament is not an easy feat. The New Testament is one of our most reliable historical pieces of evidence because of how closely it was written to the events that it documents and because of how many manuscripts we have to this day. We have thousands of Greek manuscripts to this day, and textual criticism goes a very long way. Let's talk about Islam, because it is what I referenced in my last video a lot. We need to have balanced scales when measuring these different kinds of theories. If I'm expected to believe that Muhammad's words were memorized by all his followers and eventually written down over 100 years after Muhammad's life here on earth, then having Greek manuscripts of the New Testament should go a long way too. Remember, we need to be balanced here. We have memory and then we have documents. Based off of this, we can safely believe that the New Testament is not lying to us, that it's telling us something that actually happened in the first century. Now mind you, some of the people who wrote the New Testament actually died for their faith. The New Testament tells us that hundreds of people saw the resurrected Jesus. Now, using this information, again, it's not all of it, but it is some of it, we can deduce that the best possible explanation is that there was a resurrection. DM me if you have any questions. I would love to talk about this more.